Hey, before your Q3 call, I've got the campaign brief ready, built from last quarter's data and the competitive landscape.
Great. Did you include the differentiation angle the CMO asked for?
Already in there. 3 angles no competitors using right now. Just need your approval.
Approved. Thanks. Oh, agents, where would we be without you?
Somewhere with a lot more tabs open.
Create your first Monday agent in minutes at monday.com.
Welcome back to Still a Part of Us. We've just had a wonderful conversation with Elizabeth about her sweet Lawson and Lawson Josiah, which is such a cute name. And I am so grateful that you were willing to tell that story. And on top of having told an earlier story. So welcome back, Elizabeth. Thank you so much for coming on the podcast.
Yeah, thank you.
And as a way of reference, can you tell us what happened to your son Lawson and like how old was he? And at how long ago this was that you lost him?
So this happened April 25th through the 29th of last year. And I found out exactly at the 17-day mark that his heart had stopped beating. And so we induced and had a tiny little stillborn, perfectly formed and beautiful little boy.
Yes. And this was at the time of this recording, it's just been a little over a year that this happened, and it was 17 weeks. Like that is, little, but yes, like they have they're so beautiful and perfectly formed. So as we talk, we were talking between the break, and I wanted you to share something about this particular loss and how it has changed you. I know that you have started something because of Lawson, and also probably because of Lael. I mean, there was definitely some things that happened with him. So can you tell us kind of what you were telling me before about how this has changed and the things that you are doing in honor of your boys?
So Lael definitely plays a part. He's not forgotten in any of this, but I think that the culmination of both of them together and having experienced that and walked the road, not once, but twice with other experiences under my belt, really pushed us in this direction. But Lawson was definitely the catalyst. And so in the days leading up to when I found out that Lawson had passed, my husband, who is currently mowing as I am actually recording this, he loves to mow. He loves that lawn just so, and that he had been mowing and he came in and he was like, have you ever really paid attention to dandelions? And I was like, what do you mean? He's like, well, they just, doesn't matter like what you hit them with, how many times you mow over them or whatever, they just pop back up and they
do.
just keep growing. And he was like, they're so resilient. We need more Christians like that. We need dandelion Christians, so he makes this, and we were talking about it and just thought that it was interesting. He may do a Sunday school lesson or something on it sometimes, just light talk. But then we learned that Lawson had passed, and we walked in. The hospital has been under renovation in between Lael and Lawson's passing. And so we walk into the newly renovated rooms, and right behind the bed, like a big mural of dandelions on there. And there's dandelions on the wall pretty much throughout the hospital. But he looked at me and I looked at him. He was like, do you see that? And I was like, yeah. And we just took it as a sign that was meant for us, just to be those dandelion Christians in that moment, that no matter how hard we were getting knocked down and how beaten down we were feeling in that moment, which was quite a bit, but that it wasn't beyond us to be able to pop back up and keep going.
Yeah.
So
it is, and it's hard. You've had 2 losses. It would be so hard to, it's so easy just to lay down and be sad and be depressed and everything. So the fact that you're trying to create something good and beautiful. So tell me what this what you guys have done and what have you created?
Yeah. So we decided that because of the experience and because of the nurse, I mean, I have to give a shout out to Maisie. She's one incredible nurse, and she took over the bereavement part of so they have when a parent goes through a loss up there on labor and delivery at this particular hospital, they have what's called the angel room. And that's where sometimes they'll go and they'll set it up in there to take pictures and do. And that's where they keep all of their stuff. And so she, being the head nurse in charge of the bereavement side of things, she's like that. The angel room is like her thing. And she told me, she shared with me during labor with Lawson that me being up there with Lael had really changed how they do the angel room and the things that they offer. And but her having walked that path really impressed upon me just the difference that someone that has been there makes versus someone who hasn't.
Yes.
And so we felt like an area of ministry that we could offer to people would be to be able to let to talk to other parents that are going through this from a perspective of, we understand, like, your feelings are valid. Everything that you are experiencing right now, whether it's anger or whether it's whatever, those are valid. Yeah. And just to have somebody that you can call or text in the middle of the night when nobody else would ever understand if you were to do that, and say, I can't sleep right now because all I can think of is my baby. To be able to have that opportunity is incredible.
Yeah.
So we started the Dandelion Project, and we shorten it to Dandelion sometimes. And I actually went through and had brochures printed up with our information and our story and my contact information. And we make these little care packets. And so when right after Lawson's birthday, I took them up on one of my appointments and dropped off several of the care packages for them. We give them a journal, because a lot of times when you're in the heat of labor, you don't really necessarily think to record everything, but if you don't, you miss some of those details.
Yes.
You forget things. And
Yes.
so I give them a journal and then a little bookmark. But the biggest things that we give them are, like, I make these, they're the same fabric that a little hospital hat that a newborn baby would get, and they're really stretchy, but they go on the heads of tiny little angel babies so much better. And I actually offer two different sizes, and I don't have a teeny tiny one. I have one smaller than this. We give these to the nurses so they can give them out,
get the right
as
size
needed.
and everything. Yeah.
Right. And then the little pocket hugs, there's one in the back and one in the front, and these are for the mamas, where they can have one close to their heart and one close to the baby's heart, and
Yeah.
they can switch them out when it comes time to say goodbye, because having that connection is so incredibly important for a mama to have, and nobody else understands but a mama.
Yeah.
And so we provide those for them. But the biggest thing we provide is just that one-on-one contact information, and there's no pressure and there's no time frame. They can do it whenever they feel like it or they need it or whatever. And I'm even willing to meet with people if that's something that they need.
Yeah.
But what was really interesting, sorry, when I dropped those off at the hospital, I was just dropping them off. And then the lady that happened to be there, she's the head of the MFM department, and she was like, would you be okay if I contacted our hospital media man? He might want to do an interview or something with you. And I'm thinking, okay, for like their website, because they have on their website, you can listen to different doctors or stuff. No, he contacted the local news.
Oh.
And so he's like, would you be good with doing an on-camera interview? And I'm like, sure. And then he's like, I'm going to contact these different news places. I'm like, whoa, wait, what? And so two different news channels came, and I met with them there, and they done a whole news thing on the whole process. So that was pretty neat.
Yes, that
I
is.
kind of went a little faster and a little bigger than what I was anticipating. But,
no, that's fantastic. I mean, because it really is true. When you find another lost mom, you're like, oh, I get you. Like, I totally, in just in one second, you could be like, I get you, and you get me. Like, it's so nice to be able to have that tie, and to you being a resource, and you feel drawn to do that, because you will find yourself sometimes 2 months after the loss, when everybody has kind of gone on with their life, and you still feel the heaviness, or still feel like you can't get out of bed. You need somebody to be
and
there.
that's an interesting point, a lot of times, even family that have never gone through it, they go on with their lives and they have a hard time even remembering like the baby's birthday
Yes.
or whatever. And that's such a heavy day for the mother. And yet everybody else is just like, what,
It's a regular
and
old day. Yeah.
so, but I had a friend that specifically put down in her calendar the baby's birthday and remembered to text me that day and say, hey, I just wanted you to know I'm praying for you and I love you and, happy birthday to Lawson. And that was like, I needed that so much. And
Yes.
so I actually, part of what I'm doing as these mothers come into or parents in general come into my life, I'm making the point to write down their birthday of their baby. And then we actually have stationery and cards and everything. And on that baby's birthday, they'll receive a card from us just to acknowledge that nobody else may be remembering, but we do.
Yes.
And we want you to know that we
That,
care. And so, and then the siblings, that's another aspect that tends to get
yes.
forgotten. And I'm actually in the process of designing a coloring book that hospitals can hand out that explains loss from a child-friendly perspective, but doesn't hide it, doesn't sugarcoat it into something that it's not, because they need the reality, but they need it in a way that they can understand.
Exactly.
And they need to know that it's okay that they're angry, and it's okay that they're sad, and it's okay that they want to talk about the baby, and it's okay that they don't.
Yes.
All those things need to be addressed with the children. And so that's something that we're definitely working toward in the
That
future.
that is fantastic because yes, there are not very many resources for kids too, especially at the hospital level because sometimes kids get late, they are at home and sometimes they may not meet their sibling before they're taken to the funeral home. And so I think that's fantastic that you are creating something like that. I did want to point out a couple of things, everybody, about the what was in the box. So you have made these little hats, and the reason why, other people make hats for babies,
Mhm.
but a lot of times they're crocheted, and that is wonderful and a wonderful service, but because our babies can be kind of fragile depending on when they're born, the crochet, that yarn can actually be a little damaging or harsh to the skin. Is that right? Is that the
It
reason?
is exactly right.
And so she's made it out of that like jersey. It's like a really soft, like stretchy jersey so that it can be placed carefully on top of the baby's head and basically protect it and also not harm it or tear the skin because it can be extremely fragile. The skin can be extremely fragile.
Yes,
So,
it's actually made out of stocking net, so it's medical grade stocking net. The stuff
oh,
that they dress, it's like a tube, and you just
yes.
pull out so much of the tube, and then you invert it, and that's how you make the hat. It's so simple and easy, and actually
Yes.
probably cheaper than crocheting,
Oh,
to be honest.
completely. Yeah, and really quick to make.
Mhm.
I mean, it's
Yes,
just
yes,
really cute and it is white and it has a little yellow ribbon on it and just like the color of a dandelion. I just think it's so
yeah.
cute. And then the other thing is, can you tell us about the crochet hearts again and why there's two of them and how that works? Because we talked about it earlier, but I was like, I want people to know this. This is really cute, I
Yes.
think.
So I was actually talking. I'm a member of a couple different loss groups, and when I was getting these things together and trying to figure out what I wanted to include in the kits, one of the lost moms actually said that her hospital done this, where they took two crocheted hearts and they put one next to her heart in her bra as she was holding the baby, and they were there at the hospital, and then the other rested with the baby close to its heart. And when it came time to say goodbye, they switched those out, and one was able to take, both of them were able to have the one that had been closest to the other's heart. And I thought that was so incredibly touching, because I've done with mine, it's been the hospital, or the bracelets that was in the little kits that they gave, and those were nice. And there's still times that I'll wear it or wear them, just it's less and less as I go, because I don't feel the need to do that all the time, and I don't want to stretch them. There's just that stretchy,
Yes, and
you
they will
know.
get fragile after a while too. Yes.
So, but every now and then I just feel the need just to wear it and be close, and that's great. But this is just another option, another way of being able to do that. And they're called pocket hugs, and they're just tiny little crocheted hearts that they can put in their pocket, put in their purse, and keep however they want to do it, but one for them and one for the baby. And I really like that. So we had a rainbow of different color options, but all of them that we give them match. So they have matching colors.
Yeah, that's so
Very
sweet. And we were talking about this about smell and
nice.
the smell of your baby and not being able, like that's one of the best things about a new baby is that you get to smell their head and just
Yes.
they just smell so good. And so to not be able to have that when your baby is buried or has been
Yeah.
cremated, so having something that was on them and that was a part, like part of them for a short time is nice to be able to have that. And then also maybe you could have some of the baby smell
Yeah.
still on that crocheted heart. I think that's really, really sweet. Okay, and another thing that I wanted to ask you about was about your kids. Are they how are they grieving this loss? They're a bit older now. It was, so how are they dealing with Lawson, that loss?
With the older kids, we dealt with a lot more anger this time than we
Oh,
did with Lael. There was a lot more, and it wasn't toward us. It
no, no, no.
was,
Yeah.
but it was just, it was more hardened, and it really concerned me, even though I dealt with a whole lot more of the hardness toward God and all that kind of stuff. There was just, it was just different. There was a lot more. I seen big people emotions coming from them as far as like,
Yeah.
it not being fair and not really happy about it and everything. But with the smaller ones, there was the same initial sadness and all that, followed by the awe of him and everything. And then burying him was hard. Now, though, the names for us, because I think some people, they think that once you bury the baby, you don't talk about it, but that's not the case for us. Their names are synonymous with the rest of the family.
Hmm.
It's not the case with all of the other little miscarried babies because we haven't named all of them. We didn't even know what they were.
Yeah.
But these two, having made the impression that they did in our life, they are just as much of a part of our family
Yeah.
in regards of names and familiarity as any of the rest of them. And so they talk about them. Um, they experience the same fears that we do in subsequent pregnancies, and the anxieties and stuff dealt with that. All of that is they deal with the same thing, just on a different level and a different understanding. Um, with with now that both of the boys are there and buried 2 times a year, and it just so happens that it's in the spring and it's in the fall. It's in April and August, or summer, I guess, but late summer. 2 times a year, we go to the cemetery for their birthday. On their birthday, we go to the cemetery. We take either birthday cake or birthday cookie or something like
Yeah.
that. With after I lost Lawson, Lael's birthday came, just a few months later, and I went out there alone for his. I didn't want anybody to go with me, and the kids were disappointed, but they still got birthday cake at home.
Yeah.
But um, I just needed that time alone, and so I went out there alone. This time with Lawson's first birthday, the family went out there again. We take a picnic blanket out there and spread it out, and they get to eat the birthday cake or the birthday cookies, and I'll clean up the graves, put fresh flowers on both of them. And so that's our 2 times a year that we're able to like fix it up for the next couple seasons or whatever. And they really enjoy that time. Some people look at us strange, cemetery time as enjoyable family time, but it's the one time that we all get to be together,
Yeah.
and so they really enjoy that. But I think it's mostly the cake. If we're being honest, it's the cake.
I mean, that's what birthdays are for. So, I mean, come on.
Yeah.
Cute. That's great. I think that's wonderful that you guys do that as a family and that they're very much a part of your family too. But also, I do want to point out that kids go through grief. They go through a
Yes.
lot of those stages of grief, like us, and it's like grief. You don't go through them just once. A lot of times, you circle back around and you revisit a lot of different things, and it's a process for sure. Um,
It is one way that you really get to know your kid's ultimate personality, because
yeah,
I have six, and to be able to see some of them are so I typically I'm the type that in front of people, I'm going to dismiss things. I'm not going to act like it bothers me. I'm the one that's really strong for everybody else in the heat of everything. And then when I'm alone, that's when I fall apart. And I noticed that my 8-year-old, 9-year-old now, Landon, he was that way. When I came back from the hospital, we actually came back to the church to because my nephew had been having a birthday, and so the plan was my sister-in-law's family had come in from Louisville, and so there was a whole bunch of people. They ended up keeping my kids while we went to the hospital to find out that he had passed. So we're coming back into a room full of people, and we're having to tell our kids in front of a lot of
Oh,
people that the baby has passed. And so I noticed with him, it was like, oh, really? Oh, okay. And he just got really quiet, and he didn't cry. He did, he was just like really stoic and really, um, and didn't really show his true emotions until he was more alone.
mm,
Whereas the girls were the immediate emotional fall apart, and then they were okay, and then we had the ones that was more just angry, and I don't even want to think about it. Those kind. So you have all of the range
the whole gamut.
mixed up in your kids, So um, it definitely gives you insight into what kind of person that they are, and I think that a wise parent will meet them on their
Yep.
level. If they're angry, it's okay to be angry as long as you don't let it make you bitter. We don't, bitterness. There's no room for bitterness. Like everybody goes through these things. It's not just us, and so. Um, Helping them to understand that it's okay to be angry as long as you don't let it just turn you into somebody that just
Yeah.
nobody wants to be around and doesn't want to be around anybody. But then also making sure that those that don't deal openly are dealing, because sometimes we can bottle it all up. And that's
Yep.
what I typically do, bottle it all up until I just explode. So talking them through and getting them to act upon their emotions is really good. With my 14-year-old, she was wanting to fall into depression and just kind of hide away and lay there. And I had to actively, you need to
Help.
get up and get moving. You need
Yes.
to kind of, don't let yourself go this way. I know that you have a desire to, because I do too, but you can't let yourself, bed rot over this, because life does go on, and there has to be that balance between helping them deal, but then helping them realize that it's not the end of the world.
Yes.
And those are cliche things that you don't really want to say in those situations, but there's a balance, I guess.
Yep.
So
Yep, there is. And I love how you said you need to meet your kids wherever they're at, like they're understanding like the emotion that's showing up, and
yep,
letting them process that, but then also helping them move through that, because it's sometimes you can get stuck in you can get stuck in grief pretty easily. So I think that's great. So with your permission, you had given me that you let me know that you are currently pregnant again.
I am.
Um, tell me how that has been for you, and maybe for your family, because your kids are so invested. Like your kids and your husband, they're obviously everybody's so invested because you guys are a close family. And so, tell me how that has been, and maybe tell us if you don't mind sharing, like how far along you are, and yeah, just how that's been for you.
Yeah. So my following Lawson's passing, we had pretty much been like, okay, we're done. Let's just we can't deal with this anymore. And Carolyn, my doctor, she's very perceptive and very understanding, and she said, I'll do whatever you want, obviously. She said, but I would caution and recommend that you wait a while and that you process your grief. I don't want you acting rashly upon something emotionally that you're going to regret later, because
Yeah.
like once we do this, it's final. I only have one tube. And so upon her advice, we decided to just kind of chill and wait. And so I had waffled back and forth. I would go through periods of time where I'd be like, yeah, definitely no more. And I would start like going through baby stuff, and I got rid of quite a few things. And then I would have these days where I'd be like, oh, I just want one more baby. And so it was it was for Jacob, the decision was made. Like, he was done. He was happy with what we had. He didn't want to risk anything else. He was like, done. The kids, on the other hand, they're like, Mom, when are you gonna have another baby?
Okay.
Like, come on, time's ticking, you know? And so we had a whole lot of different,
everybody. Okay.
But I had finally come level with my husband on, okay, like, we're ready. And so this was in January, well, in December of last year. I was like, January rolls around, I'm going to be turning 38. We need to just close that door officially. And I had intention on calling my OB and getting that set up. And so it would have been the day before New Year's. I had a dream. I don't ever dream. And I dreamed that I was somewhere random, some crazy place, and I took 2 pregnancy tests, and they were both positive. And then when I do dream, I don't remember the dreams, and I remembered that dream. Yes. I was like, that is so strange. So on New Year's Day, I took a pregnancy test, and it was positive. But it was just like ever so faintly positive. And I was like, So I kept it to myself. I didn't tell nobody. The next day I took another one, and it was faintly positive. And then the next day I got 2, and I took both, just like in my dream, and they were both positive. So I was like, okay, we're pregnant. Yep. And I tell Jacob, and he's like, I thought we were doing this. And I'm like, I thought so too. But just when I was done, that was when it decided to happen. And so during that same week, we actually lost my grandfather, my last living grandfather. So there was a lot going on, his passing, and then me finding out that I was pregnant. And so trying to process through his loss, the loss of him, plus, and what was really strange was not long after Lael, I lost his wife, my grandmother.
Oh. So there's
there's a connection with both of them. It was, really strange. But, so anyway, I'm processing it quietly. And at first, we were both scared to death, like scared to say anything. Jacob's initial reaction when I told him about this one was, no, like, this can't be. Like, he's like, I don't even want to think about it.
Yeah. I mean, it could lead exactly down the same paths as that you have gone before, and that is hard. And
yes. And it was the same way with my older 2 kids. Like, there was no, like, the little kids are, woo, so excited. And the big kids are like, I believe it when I see it, that kind of attitude. Like, everybody was just very guarded, I guess would be the best word. And so here I am. I'm still very scared myself, but I am wanting to talk names and everything. And Jacob wouldn't even, he was like, I'm not discussing names. And I was like, well, it's my only way to try and connect with this baby. And it's going to have a name regardless of what happens, So in my mind, I'm still trying to go through the emotions. But when it came to pulling out clothes and bassinet and all that kind of stuff, I wanted nothing to do with any of that for the longest time. And just recently, he's started kind of coming around to a little bit of hope. They put me on Lovenox and different things to try and help me through this pregnancy. In the 16, 17, 18, 19, and 20 week mark, they did weekly ultrasounds that really worked with me as far as, like, they've been on top of everything. And any time I've had any kind of issue or whatever, they're like taking me seriously, which has been incredible. So when we got past that point and baby still had a heartbeat, we're like somewhat hopeful.
Yeah.
But once you've been through so many losses, you realize, and especially when you become a member of loss groups, and you realize that, like, all the way up until they're due, you can lose a baby.
Yep.
There's no, for other people, they're like, I'm sure you're fine now. And I'm like, no, until I'm holding that baby in my hands.
Yep.
I'm not going to be fine. And then even then, you've got all these parents in these groups that have lost babies with SIDS. And it's like, you can't ever, once you've lost one at any stage, you can't ever fully just be like, everything's fine.
Yeah, you can't do that. You can't go back to that innocence, that naivete.
Yeah.
So you are tell me about how many weeks. I'm assuming you're about 25-ish, 20,
I'm 28 weeks.
28 weeks.
Yes.
Okay.
And I've had, so right before I found out I was pregnant, about 6 months before I found out I was pregnant with this one, I actually found out I have thyroid cancer.
Oh,
And so we were already dealing with a lot of that. And
yeah.
I was having a lot of people that have thyroid cancer, they don't have any symptoms, everything, like their thyroid behaves normally and everything. And
Yeah.
they just have, but my grandmother had it, and we discovered it, and we discovered it what I thought was actually early, but it actually wasn't. It's a pretty good size one. But when we found out I was pregnant, it's not a fast growing. So my
Yeah.
endocrinologist was like, okay, so you're pregnant, so we'll just take a break on this. Let's focus on getting you through this high risk pregnancy, and then we'll come back to dealing with this.
Treating
But
this.
the fatigue and everything on top of the
Oh,
pregnancy fatigue. And then I've had heart issue. Well, I've had heart issues, but they don't know if it's my heart or if it's the endocrine system, the
related.
adrenal effects,
Yes.
they don't know. So they're looking into all that. And then this last Sunday, so I was 27 weeks, that Friday night, I had an episode of like, I thought my water had broke. And then Saturday, I didn't feel a lot of movement, but I mean, I felt movement, but it was like not normal. But the baby's already developed enough of a normal pattern that I knew that come Saturday night, the baby will keep me up at night, like kicking me so much that my whole belly moves. And so I laid there in bed on Saturday night and I wasn't feeling anything. And I'm like, this is strange. And so I give it plenty of time and then nothing. So I got the Doppler and I got a good heartbeat, but a good heartbeat doesn't tell you that much,
Yep.
just the baby's alive. So I got that, and then I laid back down and I felt one little movement, just one little, and that was it. So I went ahead and went to sleep, got up on Sunday morning, still no movement. I ate breakfast. I had my water and my fruit juice, went to church, still hadn't gotten anything, ate candy, and the baby wasn't moving. So I'm sitting there. I played the piano, and I told my husband, he was leading the singing that morning, and he was like, "What's wrong?" And I said, "This baby isn't moving, and if this baby doesn't move before church is over, we're going to ER." So, and I'm like fighting tears.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
so after I came down from the piano, I went to the restroom and I prayed, and I was like, "Lord, I don't know what's going on, but please put your hand of protection on my baby, touch my baby, and let me feel some movement to at least let me know that the baby's still alive." And I went and sat down in service, and I felt just the slightest little movement. And it was just these little lethargic little whatevers. But I was like, okay, the baby's alive. So after we got home that afternoon, we got the kids fed, and then I went ahead and just drove myself to my doctor, to OBED or OBED. So the OB emergency department.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah. And they put me on the monitor. And at first the baby's heart was like, it was what they call flat. So it wasn't a flat line, but
no, but just
it was non-reactive,
yeah.
which they don't want to see. But then it picked up. And by the time that they were done on the monitor, the baby had picked up and was fine. And they said, baby probably would not have passed a BPP or an NST if we had scored one today or if we'd done one. But before 28 weeks, those are not really reliable anyway. So it wouldn't necessarily tell us one way or the other. But all we can tell you is that the baby's fine right now, and everything's fine. But when I tell you my anxiety was that would be an understatement. I was scared to death. And the next couple of days was not the normal pattern. But then by Wednesday, baby was completely fine. I seen my doctor on Thursday. They done all the tests and everything, and they said, baby's looking completely all right.
Okay.
We didn't find out what this one was because I knew that if I knew it was a boy, I would be more worried than if I just didn't know, because I've always tended to have more issues with my boys, and I've lost 2 in a row. And so I was just like, I just not find out.
Yeah.
So this one's going to be a surprise. I really kind of feel like it's a girl, which everybody's like, we don't need no more girls. We already got enough hormones in this house.
Yep.
But yeah, so understanding the even pregnancy after loss and the not really being able to fully rest in that is another aspect of the ministry that I hope to be able to
Oh,
go into with the women, um, and just, you know, somebody that's there that understands the fact that, you go 5 minutes without feeling a baby and you're like wanting to find the Doppler or something. I mean,
mhm.
some people look at that as so silly, and like you're worrying, you like, but you can't help it when you're in those situations. And
Yeah.
no amount of people running their mouth and telling you, oh, you shouldn't worry, you should just let things be, is going to change that.
Yeah.
And so, having people that understand that really makes a difference.
It
So
Yes, it does, 'cause it's not an easy path. Oh man, it's not an easy path. Like you will be like it feels like you're holding your breath. I feel like the entire time you're just like this is until you like you said see your baby, but even then you're like, "Oh, yeah, it's so it can be intense." I think that's wonderful that that's going to be like an added help because pregnancy after loss is tough and everybody thinks it's going to be fine and how people react to you even. I am sure you've like, "Oh, you're pregnant again. Now you can move on and we're so excited for you." And you're like, "No, no, you don't understand. This is not a walk in the park. This is
yeah,
not a walk in the park." And yeah, once you know the loss, it yeah, it's hard.
for sure.
Elizabeth, this has been so good to talk to you and I think that what you are doing is wonderful. I think what you are trying to do for others who may be needing to go through this path, um, they will so appreciate the help and the camaraderie and just knowing that somebody out there knows what they're going through. So thank you for doing that for your community. And hopefully it will be able to spread to some. It sounds like, are you starting with one hospital, specifically
We
your
have. I,
hospital?
I wanted to start with the one that I had the connection with, but
Wh-
my intention is to do our local hospital. And
Good.
when I was on the news, a woman in a neighboring city
Oh,
actually seen my stuff, and she was like, "Oh, we need this here."
yeah.
And she said that she had an acquaintance that had a miscarriage and was completely dismissed by the medical staff there, as far as like there was no understanding. She was like, "This hospital needs this," and she called my hospital to get my contact information, and she's
Oh,
calling me going, wanting to get in contact with me. So I've talked to her and I told her I'm on board, but that I need to get my ducks in a row because I've not officially became a nonprofit.
right.
And before, she's wanting to get like her church involved in the donations and all that, but in order to do that I really need to protect myself and become
Yes.
a nonprofit and all that first. And so there's all process, and I need to get through this pregnancy in one
Yes.
piece.
Yes, you
So
do. Yes, you do.
um and we're on the countdown. Like, I'm due September 11th, but I will have had the baby by August the 21st because
You're planning on just getting
because
in.
of my history and
Yes.
all that I'm facing. I definitely will not go past 37 weeks. But my doctor told me that when I hit 34 weeks, if there's any hint of anything wrong, she's gonna take the baby.
Okay.
Because I have had a 34 weeker and I've had a 35 weeker, and they've been okay, like no
Okay.
issues with lungs or anything like that. So she's not worried when it comes to stuff like that. We're just worried about getting the baby earthside
Here.
safely. And so,
Yes.
um, and really, I mean, the whole incident on Sunday, Jacob was like, maybe they'll just go ahead and get the baby, take the baby now, and then we won't have to worry. And I'm like, oh,
Uh,
but the baby would be very early.
yes. And there are all sorts of issues that happen once the baby's that early. So
Yeah,
yes, yes, we want them to stay in your belly as long as possible. So
yeah. You have this. There's For me though. I told him, I was like, it's this battle because it's like, yes, I want the baby here. You sooner the better when it comes to like not worrying. But then I also want the pregnancy to last because regardless, this is the last. Like, we've already made up our minds
yeah.
that we cannot go through this again, one way or the other. We can't. So I'm like, knowing that it's my last is like bittersweet. I'm 38. I'm getting old. I'm way too old for this kind of stuff. But at the same time, it's like closing a very
Closing a
special
chapter.
chapter of a
Yeah.
book.
Yeah, it
Yeah.
is.
There's nothing greater than motherhood.
Yeah,
It's quite amazing.
it is. I think
Yeah.
yeah. And you got to cherish that. I think it's
Yeah.
as much as you can. Elizabeth, thank you so, so much again for coming on, for reaching out and for telling us Lawson's story. And then also just um, the the good advice. Like they're such wonderful advice. So I hope others are able to. I know they will be able to take this and hopefully help them as they are going through this as well. So thank you again.
If anybody would like to reach out to me for like the pattern
Yes,
for the hats or anything, if they want to do anything like this in their community, I'd be happy to be a resource for them
yes.
and give your viewers.
And Elizabeth, can you tell us where people can find you?
Well,
The
you can look
easiest.
up the Dandelion Project on Facebook. That would probably be the easiest way to
Perfect.
find me initially.
Okay.
There is one other Dandelion Project, so I may end up having to change. If I change to anything, it'll just be dandelions.
Okay.
Um,
Okay.
but you should be able to find me on there. And yeah,
Okay.
so
Wonderful. Thank you so much again.
thank you.